extraordinaire. I
have to apologize.
Kyle, you've walked into something.
You see that look on his face? I feel so bad for that look on his face. I'm sorry, Kyle.
Here's the thing, Kyle, just so you understand full context. I admitted on the show today that in 1996 at the NBA All-Star Game, I walked into the Eastern Conference locker room as both Shaq and Michael Jordan were walking out of the showers naked. And the show's kind of gone off the rails a little bit with regards to nudity. And, so apparently I'm a peeping Tom. Apparently I walk in on Hall of Famers, and that's where the Harmon how did you come up with Harmon Killebrew?
I don't know. We were in the break, and I just thought, think of a Hall of Fame level player really quickly, and for some reason, Killebrew popped in my head.
Harmon Killebrew.
I don't know
why. Kyle, we'll start with Kyle Henderson. Kyle, remind me the name of your Alabama YouTube page again.
Yo, it's really easy to find. Bama football on YouTube.
See? I was going to say, normally I just type in Alabama football and Kyle's face pops up.
Yeah.
So it is. Bama football makes it real easy. I wanted to start with you here, Kyle, right? Alabama, Texas. Here we go again. This game, week 2, second consecutive season.
They're going to play right behind Kyle's head there. I'm getting fired up just looking at his background right now.
That's it. Yeah, that's a preview.
Well, let me just start here. How is Alabama viewing Texas round 2 at home this year? Given that last year, I think there probably would have been a whole lot of, Texas is cute. Mm-hmm. Alabama's coming to town, and they think they're ready to play this game. What is it like now that these two teams have played each other, and now it's at home, and it's a different vibe than it was a year ago, certainly?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And if you guys are looking for places to, eat at or stay at here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I'll definitely catch a link so you guys can put that in the description box. And I think when Alabama looks to this coming season, I think the mantra is this: let's get back to what Alabama football was. And what does that mean? I mean, that means a simplistic defense with guys playing murderless joy ball. And that's what they want to do, is they want to come in here and really kind of get back to that Alabama standard. Remember, Alabama has a new offensive coordinator. That's Tommy Rees, who's only 31 years old, from Notre Dame. And then they also have Kevin Steele, who's a new defensive coordinator on taking over for Pete Golding, and he's 67 years old. So I think what Nick Saban wanted to do was add kind of that old adage of the Alabama standard of defense, but continue that new lineage of this Alabama offense that we've continued to see. Earlier today, I asked Deontay Lawson, who's their inside linebacker, I said, look, is there a little bit more hunger inside the locker room, considering that Tennessee beat you last year, considering that LSU beat you last year, considering that Georgia has won 2 consecutive national titles? Throw along that, you escaped Austin with the 1-point victory. He said, yeah, there is some hunger. They call it reverse rat poison. So I think Alabama has every single game clearly circled. They want to, for the first time that I've ever been to SEC Media Days, it wasn't about Alabama. It wasn't the circus for Nick Saban and the guys that he brought. They were like, oh, and Alabama's joining Georgia at the SEC table, right? Everything was kind of centric on Georgia Bulldogs. So I think when Alabama looks this season for the first time ever, which is kind of nice, these guys are laying in the weeds. And Nick Saban yesterday, he was smiling, he was happy, because I think for the first time he's not having to overhype these guys about not being the preseason number 1. Like, people think Alabama's vulnerable this year.
Kyle, let's go right to the quarterbacks. I know Nick Saban doesn't want to talk about it, but I do. You mentioned Rees, which brings in one factor, but it's not just Rees coming from Notre Dame. Buckner transfers as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are thinking, at least the way I'm looking at it, it's a Buckner and Milroe discussion. So tell me what's going on so far. Is it just about those 2 guys?
No.
Is there somebody else in the mix?
Yeah, there's absolutely. I just posted a video today. It shows 3 of the quarterbacks throwing from yesterday. So you have Tyler Buckner, who just transferred in from Notre Dame. Clearly has some continuity with Tommy Rees, being that Tommy Rees is at Notre Dame and that Tyler Buckner was at Notre Dame. Look, these transfers that have come into Alabama, they haven't come to sit the bench. I mean, think about the guys from the past that have transferred to Alabama. They have all been day 1 starters. With that said, you have Jalen Milroe, who's 6'2", 230 pounds, one of the fastest guys on the team. He's probably the most diesel college football quarterback in the land. And he kind of throws an awkward ball, but try preparing for him. I asked Jimbo Fisher at SEC Media Day. He said it was a nightmare. And he did beat Texas A&M last year. He did come in and he was serviceable against Arkansas last year against a very good Sam Pittman defense. And then you have Ty Simpson. He's the first player that I featured this morning on the video. Watch Ty Simpson play. His father is the head football coach at UT Martin. This guy's probably grew up, talking schematics in the game. He throws a fantastic ball. It's clearly a 3-horse race. And going into the season, I thought it was going to be Jalen Milroe. I was like, look, he started against Texas A&M. He played against Arkansas. He has all the physical attributes that you want in a quarterback. But then Nick Saban, I honestly feel he was like, look, the cake is not ready to be taken out of the oven. That was the metaphor that he used for the quarterback race. He's like, I don't want to talk about it because I honestly don't know. I think he's waiting for somebody to take the bull by the horns and take over that quarterback spot. But you clearly have a 3-horse race. Ty Simpson won yesterday. Jalen Milroe and Ty Buckner are right there behind Simpson. But if we're playing tomorrow, I'm going with Ty Simpson. Kind of a shocker because I didn't think I'd be saying that today.
Interesting.
Talking about those plucky underdogs, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
with their
scrappy.
Their chips on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Because nobody's talking about them this year. Talking with Kyle Henderson of BAMA Football on YouTube here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm going to give you a hot take on Nick Saban, and I'm going to give it to you because I wanted to go into a question about this year. Last year, Alabama had the most super blue chip former recruiting prospects currently on the roster of anybody in college football, and that includes Georgia. Mm-hmm. Really by such an amount that I look at last year, and I personally think A&M wasted a season. They had Bryce Young for another year. That team, at a minimum, should have been in the playoff. But, man, seasons happen, right? And sometimes you lose a couple of times, and it just happens. But it still feels like a wasted opportunity for Saban. They should have been in the playoff. It makes, when you look at the season that Alabama had last year and the success that they've had previously, might be one of the biggest wasted seasons of Saban's career. Now he comes into this year, and you talked about the reverse rat poison, and I think there is a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. They do kind of get to be mad at people, and if there could be a revenge tour. Yeah. And they can frame this in ways that Alabama football typically doesn't. From a Saban motivation standpoint, do you think he's more hyped this year? Do you think he feels the disappointment from a year ago, and it's part of the fuel that leads him into this season?
100%. Yeah. I mean, think about this. I mean, to add on to that, Catch, you had who was the first pick in the NFL draft on the offensive side? Who was the number 1 pick overall? Their quarterback, Bryce Young. Who was the first defensive player taken in the NFL draft? William Anderson on the defense. So you have the top 2 players in all of college football, and you can't even make the playoffs? That's unacceptable. That is not the standard here, period. And I think with Nick Saban going forward, he knows that. He doesn't want to be for that to be his legacy. So yeah, he's coming into this season. People are like, oh, he's old. No, yeah, he's getting up there in age, but the dude is so competitive. I see him at the golf course on the chipping range, pissed off because he's not shooting under whatever. Saban's a good golfer. The guy has game, and so does his SID. These guys are hardcore competitors, and Nick Saban isn't just posted up chilling, even though he did just buy a $17 million house in Jupiter, Florida. But besides that, these guys are pissed off for greatness, honestly. And last year, yeah, it stings. Look, was I mad that I got to go to New Orleans for New Year's? No. That was cool. But do Alabama fans want to play Kansas State fans? Kansas State? No. That's not the standard. I'm used to going on 2 trips. I'm used to going to the playoffs. Catch, I've covered 4 national titles, and I've lived in Tuscaloosa for 6 seasons. I felt like going to a third world country when I went to the Citrus Bowl. I was like, Orlando, ooh, this place sucks. No, honestly, I'm used to covering the playoffs. I'm used to covering the national title. And going to New Orleans, yeah, it was fun. But playing Kansas State, that's not the standard what Alabama is accustomed to. So going into this season, yeah, stakes are high. Paul Fonbaum was saying that, if Saban doesn't make the playoffs, his legacy is ruined. No, that's completely ludicrous. He's won, 6 or 7 titles or whatever he's won. He's the greatest college football coach ever. And I think he wants to win a couple more before he exits out.
Now back to the first world problem. That was fantastic. That math tells you everything you need to know. Another thing that's incredible, Kyle, we're talking with Kyle Henderson, Bama football on YouTube. Check it out if you want to get ready, Texas fans, for that game. We're 29 days away from the first game, which means we're 36 days from Texas in T-Town taking on Alabama. One of the things that's amazing to me, Kyle, is that Nick Saban can get a new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, lose that quarterback, lose that defensive player you mentioned that are ranked that high, and he'll still be preseason 1, 2, or 3 in everybody's list. So tell me this. What do you feel like Alabama fans focus on when they're getting a new OC and DC at the same time? And you mentioned it's Reese and it's Steele. Do they focus on those kind of things, or do they just assume that the man in that straw hat's going to walk out there and fix it all and it'll be fine?
The guys coming in over here are always better, right? Like, we're so glad to get rid of Bill O'Brien. We're so glad to get rid of Pete Golding, and these new guys were the problem. Guess who calls the defense? You think, honestly, Pete Golding is calling the defense? Like, this is how it happens in Alabama. Honestly, 100%. If the defense allows a touchdown, fire Pete Golding. That guy's the biggest problem. If there's an interception, good job, Nick Saban. Way to make a great call, right? So every single time, the new guys are better. Oh, Saban had to make such an upgrade on the offensive side with Tommy Reese. He probably did. Look, Bill O'Brien, he just didn't mesh well. And they had Bryce Young. Their wide receivers last year were subpar. And look, you can be critical of these players now because they're getting paid. You're pros. So welcome to the show. You get criticized when you get paid. You're not just college athletes that are just going to school. You're getting paid. You're pros. That wasn't the standard last year. The guys who are coming back this year, they're better. There's a sophomore group of wide receivers that are really good. But when Alabama looks to these OC and the DC from a fan's perspective, the new guys are always better. I will say I'm a little bit excited to see Tommy Reese because, look, I play DraftKings. I do. I like it. And Notre Dame last year, I'd roll with Notre Dame because I know that Tommy Reese could distribute the football to a lot of different weapons within his arsenal. They use the tight end very well. I thought he used the wide receivers, even the running backs, and I think he can do that here at Alabama, depending on if the quarterback can get them the ball. On the defensive side, they're like, Kevin Steele, yeah, he's been at Alabama 3 times. That's what Alabama needs. So Alabama is excited about the DC. Look, I'll say this about Kevin Steele, their new DC. When I first moved here to Alabama, I'd never been to the Iron Bowl. I'm not from Tuscaloosa. I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm not from SEC country. Going to all these places is so new to me. So I go down to my first Iron Bowl, and literally Auburn just beats the piss out of Alabama in the trenches. Like, I've never seen it. I've never seen anything like it before. The DC at that point was Auburn. Auburn has always had a good defense, and I think it's still a spillover from Kevin Steele being there. He's a very good defensive coordinator. Don't judge what he did at Miami. Judge him during his tenure at Auburn.
Well, in about 15 other places, Kevin Steele is a made man in the world of college football. Certainly hasn't forgotten how to coach. All right, Kyle, I'm gonna put on my inner Texas Longhorn fan hat. I'm going to tell you what I hear on a daily basis, which, by the way, for the record, I disagree with. Texas has got the better quarterback. They got experience. Texas would have won that game last year if Quinn Ewers doesn't get hurt. He's coming to town. Alabama, they're past their prime. Saban is no longer the genius. Texas is going to walk into Alabama, win that game by a touchdown, no problem. Texas fan says that to you, given all of the context involved, and it was a close game a year ago, how is Alabama, again, the prism through which they see that Texas game is what?
Well, first of all, I want to answer some of our friends inside the comment box. This is not a White Claw. This is someone's like, he's drinking White Claw. Someone's like, oh, they got Mexicans in Texas. I'm Hispanic, which is awesome, you know. So look, when if you know anything about history, I did my ancestry. I'm actually northern Spain. So like northern Spain, they cruised through. They went through Mexico and settled up in Santa Fe. Been to Mexico many times. Actually had a spot in Cancun for a little bit. That's another story for a different time. And then someone else said something. You got a good crew in here. Oh, someone said the meth state in New Mexico is a meth state. So yeah, Breaking Bad, Walter White. I'm sure we all seen that. I think Texas coming into Alabama, Texas could very well beat Alabama, 100%. Your quarterback, what does he shed? Like 20 pounds? The guy, if he plays in that entire game last year, Texas wins the game, right? That was the deciding factor of the game. That and the fact that Steve Sarkisian allowed Bryce Young, what did he allow him, like a minute 30 to go down the field? Wrong. Come on, Sarkisian, you know that guy. Texas very well could come in. I think it comes down to this. When you look at that game, can Alabama's defensive backs, which are very good, you have Kool-Aid JaQuincy McKinstry. That's his name, Kool-Aid, right? Alabama's a player named Kool-Aid. And Terran Arnold, can they stop your guys as wide receivers? Because Texas, the offense is nothing to mess around with. Like everybody knows, not just in Alabama, I think the entire world of college football knows that this Texas offense is for real. 100%. If you guys can figure out your running back position, I don't know. I haven't checked out like Orange Bloods. I don't have a subscription, by the way.
Come on, Ketch.
Well, I'm no longer with rivals. I'm by myself.
How you should still be calm.
Okay, I'm going to use this. Let me take out my phone real quick and click on the QR code. Let me read it for you. 67% off first annual year sub. Promo code is OB. What is that? OB Live?
OB Live. I will get you taken care of. I would have never in a million years have thought, even though you're not a part of the right, I thought you'd still be able to like bootleg your way in.
No,
they
man.
take that on the way out. Take it from somebody who just got fired.
They took it all, man. Yeah, they took it all. Yeah. So yeah, I lost the keys to all the cars, man, when I left Rivals and On 3. By the way, great people at both of them. Texas.
By the way, real quick, Kyle.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Rest in peace, Hector Salamanca. He died today.
For real?
Out a little for Hector,
man.
One of the great characters in the Breaking Bad world.
Ding ding.
To say that.
Got to pour.
Okay,
pour
continue.
Got to pour out. What a great character. What a great cast, right? The only thing I didn't like El Camino though, that when it came back out on Netflix, like kind of right, that was trash.
It does not hold up to both Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. The El Camino episode.
It sucked. It sucked. Anyways, this game will not suck. Coming to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and trying to park your car, whatever you're trying to do, that will also suck. There's no parking lot for fans. Like fans park at the mall and then they're shuttled in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you can park like around, but if you got a spot close to the stadium, you're like, yeah, you could park here for $200. And then you're just like, okay, yeah, I got to pee. Anyways, I have some cash, so here you go. Texas could very well win this football game. Sarkisian, I got a lot of respect for him. I think he's he's the best Alabama offensive coordinator that I've seen since I've been here. You know, that was after Lane. And I think this offense is very dangerous. Alabama knows all about it. If Saban will not talk about Texas, this is all rat poison because the first game is Middle Tennessee State. But everybody, that's all we talk about. That's all I talk about. I'm like, okay, let me see what will piss people off. Oh, quarterbacks. And then I'm like, oh, Texas. So those are the only two things that we're really like kind of aiming to. But Alabama does have a tough back end gauntlet schedule. If Texas can get through that Alabama game, I was looking at Texas' schedule. If they can sidestep that late season hurdle of Iowa State, I mean, it should be sitting pretty for Texas to make a playoff run. But going to Ames, do you guys go to Ames? Iowa State?
Yes.
Oh my God. That's a trap game. You can't, I mean, it's tough to win there for where I used to live in Iowa, Pella, Iowa. It sucked. But Pella was cool.
You're like a gypsy.
I know,
I was
man.
gonna say, he's been everywhere.
You're all over the place.
Man, I'm tired.
Kyle, I think I'm asking this question because of, again, what's in your background there, getting me thinking about game day. But Bama, obviously, all the history, all the branding and everything that's there. Talk to the Texas fans about Tuscaloosa. We know this isn't just packed. It's going to be packed. And this is the team coming into town. A non-conference brand like this is coming to town. Give us a sense for what is it like when Bama fans react to another big fan base coming in. And this is going to be just such a monster game. What do you expect out of that atmosphere?
Well, I think Alabama fans have been criticized for being a little sleepy. When I moved into this neighborhood, and then when I moved in this community, like everybody knows the outcome of the game. They're like, yeah, Alabama's going to win, but by how much? Now I think people are starting to say like, okay, Alabama, like this game is going to be interesting. Alabama did something to their stadium. They added these eccentric lights, so it's like a rave and it's like a show, and it's really nice. So you get an evening time game against Texas. I think it is really going to be something like tickets are going. You have seen the tickets, what they're going for? I mean, I have a friend of a friend who is selling tickets, and they're making a killing off that game. I have a friend who has 8 tickets. 8 tickets.
8?
On the 4 on the 50 and 4 North End suites. Like they're gonna kill it for that game. Yeah, ballers. Nice. But they play Dixieland Delight. That's their song. They play a couple Garth Brooks songs. Look, it's country folks, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great place to check out a football game. Sits 100,000 people. The outside of the stadium, there's all these new high-rise condos that are going for like 1.5. You have the Black Warrior River. There's some pretty look. People like the barbecue here. I personally don't. I definitely want to check out Austin for your guys' spots. What they have here in Alabama is called meat and threes. So your meat and threes is like you get like some meatloaf, and then you get like green beans, and then you get some casserole, and then like some peach pie. That's like something that you're going to get when you come over to Tuscaloosa. There's churches on every single corner, so you can definitely get your Sunday church in, and I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's going to be excellent. I think Alabama's favored by 7 right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Is there a point total that you think this is the number that the winning team has to score? I know it's early. I mean, we're still a ways away.
31.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking 35 when you asked the question.
31.
You get to the 30s, you're winning this game, right?
100%. Yeah. 100%.
I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you break 30, you're winning the game.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So that puts up a lot of pressure both on the quarterbacks, right? Like, we know that Quinn Ewers is going to come into that game and like he's got to recreate what he was doing. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on whoever's starting at quarterback at Alabama to go into a big game like that. Probably if you're Alabama, that might be we need 31, might need 7 from the defense and 7 from the special teams, and don't put all of the pressure on your quarterback that's making his second career start. Maybe unless it's Milroe, at which point he's got a couple under his belt.
I wouldn't put too much on who starts against Middle Tennessee to who's going to start against Texas. I think that Middle Tennessee, we're going to see maybe 2 quarterbacks, but I think we'll know. Look, Nick Saban will make a change at halftime. We've seen it done before. He's not just going to write a guy out because it's the right thing to do. I was just watching a video today. Nick Saban makes every single decision based on winning. He knows who the best players are, and he's going to play the best players. There's no, this guy's a senior and all that stuff. No. The best players play. The freshmen to watch, there's 2 freshmen that could probably start on each side of the football. The first one is Justice Haynes. You guys remember Jace McClellan last year, the running back who ripped off what was a 72-yard touchdown? Well, Alabama has a 5-star freshman by the name of Justice Haynes that could very well start at the running back position, at least not get significant reps. And we're talking running back. Right? That's how good he is. And then on the defensive side, you have Caleb Downs. You guys know Minkah Fitzpatrick, right? He's earning some good cash in the NFL. Well, this guy Minkah was one of the best that I've ever seen here. This guy is something different. His name is Caleb Downs. Watching him in the safety position. I think that, this is going to be the game that we want, the game that we expect. And I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised that whoever wins that Texas game or loses it, that's going to determine the rest of the quarterback for the rest of the year.
Kyle, you mentioned the receiving group not being up to where Bama wanted it to be last year. What about this year? Receivers or tight ends that you think maybe are going to make impact?
The tight end at Alabama has been very serviceable, if that. That's one of the positions I've been highly critical of. Camlin, too, last year just wasn't it. How many didn't he drop a few passes against you guys? Like, he certainly did. The Alabama wide receivers in total dropped so many passes, and we're used to Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Like, the wide receivers have not been it. This year, Coach Saban's excited about C.J. Dupree. He transferred from Maryland to Alabama. I think he's okay. I mean, I need to see him actually perform. Behind him, they have Amari Niblack, who could be okay. But I'm still not really excited about the tight end room. Use that for rat poison if you're out there watching it in the Alabama locker room. Like, I'm just not impressed. The wide receivers are pretty good. Ja'Cory Brooks, we had an opportunity to talk to him today. He's clutch. Jermaine Burton, people don't like him. He transferred from Georgia. He's kind of, up and down, but he did do well in the Sugar Bowl. There's 3 sophomores that are terrific. Kendrick Law, he looks like Deebo Samuel. Honestly, he's like the same type of guy. You have Isaiah Bond, who can take the top off. He's very talented. And then you also have Kobe Prentice, who played a significant amount of time last year. The new wide receiver to watch for Alabama, write this down, Malik Benson. He's a transfer in, and saw him working with Bryce Young during Alabama's pro day, and he definitely looks the part. Maybe he could be Alabama's what they call ride out, but Malik Benson looks to be the best of the bunch.
Kyle, the people love you, man.
Look at that super chat.
Well, hell yeah, because I don't sugarcoat stuff. Like, this is the truth. Like, things are not perfect at Alabama. Otherwise, Alabama would have the last 2 national titles. Otherwise, Alabama would have beat Tennessee. Otherwise, Alabama would have beat LSU. If you're an Alabama fan, you're not happy right now. Why? Why are you happy? This isn't the standard.
Slumming in New Orleans in January?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah. So
yeah, Ketch, you hear that frustration in his voice? That's what happens when you've only got 4 out of 6 years covering a national champion, and you had to go to New Orleans because you were forced to.
No, you know what? I just went back to New Orleans for the 4th of July. Man, it was terrible. That was one of the worst decisions I made. It was hot. Everything was closed. It's the off season, right? People were like, we're closed for the 4th. I'll tell you the spot, though. I'm trying to get to Nashville. That place is absolutely bananas. It's on fire. I think it'd be good for somebody, that is kind of looking for, new things like me. I'm independent. I'm trying to get by.
You're like Notre Dame. Where you should have gone is Chicago in the summertime is the best city in America.
Yeah, Navy Pier is dope. Yeah, I've had a good time up there.
Yeah, Kyle, I've had SEC fans tell me that the party to go to in the SEC that you wouldn't think about is Vanderbilt. Go to that game. They know how to party. You're probably getting a win, but that's what I've heard. That Vanderbilt crew in Nashville, they're ready to bring you in and party hard.
Yeah, I went to a Vanderbilt game a couple years ago. It was like 110 degrees. It was completely all Alabama fans. So they had like a little section for Vanderbilt, like up in the corner. And it wasn't pretty, but Nashville's a good spot.
Yep.
When can we get you on again, Kyle? We get you on like in a couple weeks?
Yeah, man. Anytime. Just hit me up, Ketch. I really appreciate it. This is fun. So, holler at me again for sure.
Bama football on YouTube. Just go subscribe right now.
That's it.
I think he's probably proven to you he's going to give you – there you go. Put it up on the screen. He's going to give you an entertaining show. He's not going to BS.